Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Bunk'd Series Review Part 2. So I'm going to start off where I left off before. So continuing, let's talk about the Rosses, the whole reason why this show even started to begin with. You know, the Rosses was really cool back in Jesse and also Bunk'd. And it was really sad when they had to go. Zuri, played by Sky Jackson. So, one of the three Rosses that appeared in the first three seasons. I was surprised when they left after season 3. Because the whole show was supposed to be about them. And the fact that they're at camp is just weird. And nobody hates being at camp more than Zuri. When it comes to the Rosses, their personalities are exactly the way they were in Jesse, with little character development, which is really shocking to tell you. And so, but they had to modify Zuri and everything because she's no longer this teeny tiny little kid from the Jesse series. So they took away the whole cute, adorable angle with her character because now that she's like, a preteen and teenager and stuff, they decided like, okay, she's gonna keep her sassiness, but they're gonna kind of tone it down a little bit. They're gonna keep her grumpy, mean, want to beat you up kind of nature. But they're gonna tone it down just a little. But they're gonna make it more to where she's defiant and she likes to break the rules. And they're gonna make it to where she's more money hungry now, which is something she never really was in the beginning of like Jesse. But now she's like obsessed with money. Every time she has to take money out of her like pocket or say like, oh, empty your pockets or you have any change in your pocket, she whips out tons and tons and tons of hundreds of dollars of bills that's just wadded up, which is a funny recurring gag. But yeah, they had to modify her character to where she's more the defiant teen, always wanting to break the rules. Like there isn't supposed to be cell phones at camp. And so she ends up stealing, or actually she doesn't even give hers up. She just made a fake looking cell phone out of soap and gave that. And so like she tricked Ravi and Tina to make like a cell tower and everything so she can have like a cell phone and be on the internet. And she even tricked Emma into going along with her plan. She's very conniving and very devious in the Bunk series, even to the point where she's kind of like a bit of a loan shark and a mob boss. Apparently, she's always having one money scheme after another, and nobody, like the FBI, could never like track her down because she doesn't leave no money trail. And if you don't pay her back her money, apparently you don't want to get on her mean side. It's an interesting departure from how she was in Jesse, but I guess they needed something to do with this character and stuff. She's just a regular like camper, and so she's part of two different trios, the Ross trio and the Tiffany trio and everything. And so, but she hangs out with Tiffany a bit more. She's the one who introduces Tiffany to fun, and every once in a while they do argue and everything. She also has a recurring gag of always ordering like food. My bad, I had to call. She's always has this recurring gag of like ordering food to the campgrounds, which you're not supposed to do because the wild animals like bears can smell it and stuff. But the food is so atrocious over at Camp Kikiwaka that she's always ordering out. And they have to meet her in a designated spot out in the woods. So her and Emma didn't really get along in the first couple of episodes, mainly because Zuri is kind of being that teenager to where she's stealing a bunch of Emma's stuff and want to wear it for her own. And she's even more meaner to Ravi than she ever was in the Jesse series and stuff. But like for the most part, her and Jorge and like Tiffany get along fairly well. By season 3, I think they started to make her a CIT, and they even gave her a love interest in this one guy But somebody ruined that for her, and I forget who it was. But then they started to have her be in a kind of like a relationship with Griff in season two, only for him to be written out by season three. And so it was kind of weird because now, like I said before, she's a CIT in season three. Her and Destiny didn't really get along when they first met because Destiny is the new, like, cute, adorable kid and everything with the attitude similar to hers. And so they would clash on how to, like, redecorate, like, the bunk dorms and everything. But other than that, she does have a really nice and caring side. Like, she loves Lou and she will protect her even when, like, Lou started dating a guy that Zuri started to have, like, weird feelings about. Weird feelings as in they think, like, he's using Lou, which he was and everything. And she even threatened to, like, beat the guy up and stuff. Whenever her mom's around, she act like she's a sweet little princess who can do nothing wrong and want her mom to, like, do everything for her. But like I said before, after they bought the camp out in season three, and then they left at the end of season three, and she never reappeared since. As for the actress, well, I've already talked about her downward like spiral after, like, Disney Channel and stuff. From tons and tons of drama, getting restraining orders on people, making a baby, having problems with her baby daddy, she doesn't really act that much no more. Sadly, I hope she can get her life together and stay away from these little, like, ghetto boys. Ravi, played by Karen Barr. Ravi is pretty much identical to how he was in Jesse, with little to no character development. They literally just kept that same persona on this guy. He's still a genius. He is still a nerd. He is still a geek. He is still a dork. He still gets bullied. In fact, he gets bullied by the younger campers and everything in season one and two. Like, he's literally getting bullied by little kids. He is still super weak, to even weaker than what he was before in Jesse. It's like he's so weak, he literally can't pick up a stick. Like, that's how weak the dude is. He is there for extreme comedic relief, but I hate how they write his character. He's like the first Indian dude in Disney Channel, and they make him into the biggest, like, sitcom stereotype, similar to, like, Raj and The Big Bang Theory and stuff, or like Fez in that other show that I can't name right now. But it's just like, when I say he's identical to how he was in Jesse, he is. He even brings Mrs. Kipling along, but she doesn't appear in that many episodes, and he's not as lizard obsessed as he was before. He does try to, like, have some type of order with the counselors and the campers in season one and two. But they, like I said before, they just bully the crap out of him. He does exert more power in season three, and he's not as much of a dork in season three. And he no longer gets bullied and picked on in season three, which is a really good thing. But he does end up becoming the new chef by season three, which who knew he could cook and everything. And it's just, I hate how they didn't try to improve his character whatsoever. If anything, he's a bit more annoying in Bunk than he was in Jesse. In Jesse, he did have a little bit of coolness in a way to him. But in Bunk, they just took everything that he was in Jesse and multiplied it by like 1,000 and everything. Now, they did finally give him a girlfriend, which technically Creepy Connie and him supposedly liked each other and dated after a while, but supposedly they say in Bunk this is his first girlfriend. But he's with a girl who likes to do stuff on the extreme level, extreme sports, and everything has to be extreme for her, which really creeps and freaks him out because he's a scaredy cat. And so they literally jump out of a plane and, like, post a parachute down and everything, skydiving, and he is terrified. But he uses that moment to break up with her. So she decides to screw him over by injecting her parachute and leaving him to plummet. But he survives and everything. But I do like how in season 3, the new campers actually do listen to him and everything. Now that he's a full-fledged like counselor and no longer a CIT. As for acting, I've seen him act in a couple of stuff. He was in this one YouTube show for like only one episode, and he actually got to use his real accent and everything because he talks with a fake one on Disney Channel. I know he played one of the Robins, I think, in what was that Batman movie called? That weird one, Batman Doom Comes to Gotham. Him and the dude who played Griff played like voiced two characters in that movie. I don't know if he does much stuff now. Emma, played by Peyton List. So Emma is, well, Emma. She's still exactly the way she was in Bunk. She still is extremely stupid. She is still extremely nice and she still is extremely into fashion, but not into fashion as much as she was in Jessie. In Jessie, she was your stereotypical Valley girl. In Bunk, she's a little bit more toned down and she has a lot more responsibilities. Now, the thing about Emma and Jessie is that, like I said before, she did get a job, but only to pay for her cell phone. Here, she actually loves being a CIT and wants to be one. And she takes the job as pretty serious as she can, being still as stupid as she can, as she is. And so, like, but she does actually take her responsibilities pretty seriously. It's just that she's really dumb. I can't believe they didn't try to smarten her up. She's a little, slightly smarter than what she was in Jessie, but not by much and everything. They do give her a boyfriend in the form of Xander, and this is some character growth with her. We see that she is a jealous person who even thinks Lou is trying to steal her boyfriend. For the most part, everybody respects her, and she becomes best friends with Lou, which is kind of weird, but also kind of not, because you would think, why would she be friends with Lou, and Lou is such a country bumpkin and everything. But remember, she did make friends with that one goth girl in Jessie, so she doesn't judge people and stuff. She just judges what they wear. But her and Xander were like a pretty cool couple and everything, and Hazel is like her arch nemesis because Hazel wants that of like Xander and stuff. But she does make a point to try to like be friends with her, but then when that kind of backfires, she doesn't want really nothing to do with her. She does become a full counselor by season 3 when they buy over the ranch, and she's trying to be way more responsible because she's the oldest and everything. She feels she should be the head like camp director and everything. And some of the rules that she enforces aren't very good. Like she puts a bouncing house out on like the lake, and of course it just floats away with 3 of the campers in it. So she's not very good at her job, but eventually she does become a bit better in everything. And also the whole no cell rule. Like at first she implemented it where they can have cell phones until she found out it was more of a hassle and stuff like that. So she got rid of them because they're supposed to have the camp experience and everything. After she leaves in like season 3 and everything, she reappears in season 5. And when she comes back, she's still a bit aloof in the head. But we find out that she lied about her big success of being like a runway model. It turns out she tripped and fell over a bunch of celebrities like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, and Katy Perry and stuff. And she was so embarrassed that she fled from Paris and came back to Kikiwaka to want to stay. When I thought she was going to stay, I was happy because I'm like, yes, I love Peyton List and everything. But it turns out that Ava was just didn't want her to be there. And it's the one who exposed her what happened over in Paris. Because Ava was jealous that Lou and Destiny was giving Emma a whole lot more attention. But eventually, she tried to like get a helicopter on out of there, crossed over a bridge, and it collapsed, and they had to like rescue her and everything. And it gave her the confidence she needed to walk the runway model thing or whatever it's called, ramp or something like that. I don't know. I don't watch fashion model crap. So she left once again to pursue being like a supermodel and everything. She is the only Ross to ever reappear back in the series. But she didn't appear back in the series finale. None of the Rosses did, which is kind of weird. After Disney Channel and everything, Peyton List has been very busy acting, appearing in several like streaming movies and has appeared in like three like streaming series. One was Light as a Feather on Hulu, which you can also watch on Disney Plus. She was only in like 2 or 3 episodes. Then, of course, she was in Cobra Kai playing Tori. And then she is in School Spirits, which is about to have its 3rd season as soon as it finished rapping and everything, where she is also an executive producer on School Spirits, which you can watch on Paramount Plus. So she's been very busy ever since. And what's really cool is her twin brother in real life got to appear in season 1. He was from Camp Champion, where him and like Robbie didn't get along, and they had, I think, what was it, kind of like that. It's something. It was kind of like a paintball type episode. Finn, played by Will Bowie Jr. So he was there for 3 seasons. Seasons 3, 4, and 5, and he's part of the new trio. He also guest starred in season 6 and season 7. The episode in season 7 is the finale. I never watched the episode of season 6 he was in, so I'm not really sure what he does. He is the new like Jorge and Luke, where he's like this dumb kid who's really gross and smelly and stinky. And the thing about him that I liked about, other than Jorge, the thing about Jorge is that Jorge would embrace his gross nature, but also was embarrassed by it. Finn fully embraces it in a very adorable kind of way. He's always smiley and happy when it comes to being grossed out and him being smelly and stinky, and he finds it as a compliment. Now, he is Lou's cousin. And so, like I said before, he is part of the new trio in season 3. And the new trio really grew on me. Like, at first I was mad because the other two didn't show back up, or the Rosses are still there. But like Tiffany and Jorge was gone. But the new trio really like grew on me and stuff. And so Finn, like I said before, he's just this overall like dumb character. He doesn't know nothing and stuff. Like, he's just really stupid. Similar to Emma and similar to Luke. But just like with Luke and Jorge, he doesn't like taking a bath. He doesn't like showering. He doesn't like washing his hands, brushing his teeth. If you mention water and soap, he gets like freaked out and everything. But he's all around a very nice person. That's another thing that I like about him, other than Luke and Jorge, is that they were very rude and sarcastic, whereas he is just really friendly and nice. And like in the other later seasons, he wears his emotions on his sleeve. Like in season 4, when Mateo didn't call him his best friend or something like that, he gets offended. Now, him and Mateo are best friends, and they tend to do a lot of stuff together. But, you know, they do tend to argue every once in a while because there's something he'll want to do, Mateo don't want to do. And so, like, Mateo would do it with somebody else, and it really offends him and stuff. Like when Mateo started to hang out with Gwen a whole lot more, he felt left out. Now, he is the second tallest of the new trio. Destiny was the tallest until Finn had like a growth spurt in like season 4 and 5, and he became the tallest. And at the end of season probably 3, close to or somewhere in season 4, his voice dropped. Like I didn't even recognize the character. His hair started getting a little bit longer, shaggier, and curly and stuff. Like his voice was getting deeper. He had a little bit of facial hair and everything. And it's just kind of like, who is this guy? And so, just like with the Max character from Wizards of Waverly Place, as he started to get older, Finn, that is, he still was Finn. He still was gross and he was still dumb. The whole dumb thing when they get older, really, I don't like because it's kind of like, how are they still this dumb? You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem I had with Max. It works when they're a kid because they're cute, young, and adorable, but when they get older, it just makes them look plumb stupid. Now, the thing about the new trio is that they give them two different distinct personalities that they flip per season. So, because he's really gross and smelly in season 3 and just a little dumb in season 3, and by season 4, he's just flat out stupid dumb and a little bit gross. And then in season 5, they're like a blend of both those things. So, but like I said before, this dude embraces the gross, stinking nature of everything, and it's pulled off because he embraces it, and he does it in a very adorable kid kind of way. Now, there are times where he did have a little bit of power on like the campgrounds, like that medieval Renaissance thing that they was doing. He was the king. But Destiny tricked him into getting what she wanted, so he became mad with power and everything. There's also an episode where Destiny had to trick him into like, not Destiny, but Ava had to trick him into reading. He had hurt like his arm and couldn't do much, and so he was just stuck in his bunk. And she kept telling him about all these stories and books, so he would have her act them out like she's a television and everything. Even to the point of trying to mute her when she discovered what he was doing. So she no longer was going to do that, which forced him to have to read, and he really enjoyed reading, which is something he does not like doing. Only because he just doesn't like reading, but he knows how, unlike Gwen. In one episode, he had to like help watch his little baby cousin and stuff. And then in another one, we find out that his parents are divorced and his mom started to date a guy named Dave. Now, Dave is played by the Spencer guy from iCarly. At least I think that's his name. It's been a while since I watched iCarly. And so it's kind of cool that he went from Nickelodeon to Disney Channel, similar to the Gladys character, because they were both on the same show, iCarly. And so, like, he flat out hates Dave and does not want Dave to, like, date or even marry his mom, because he feels like it's going to replace his dad, which a lot of kids who go through divorce go through that. I had a different reaction when mine's divorce. I didn't want my mom to date only because I didn't like the other guys. And I didn't want them to like mistreat her and stuff. I could care less about my father and stuff. So he can get replaced and everything. But Finn had a real huge problem with that and everything. It's revealed in season 6 and 7 of the Learning of the Ropes that he's actually now a counselor and in charge of Camp Kikiwaka, which is weird because he's Finn, and Finn is really dumb. Also, when was he ever a CIT? The whole CIT thing dropped after season 3. And plus, he's not all that responsible to run like the campgrounds and stuff. Now, one interesting thing they did with Finn that I completely forgot about is they made him into a vegetarian. In one episode, Lou had a cow, and he thought that she was gonna cut him up and eat him up and everything, so he tried to rescue the cow. And so, like, after that, he decided he's just gonna be a vegetarian, but he had a hard time being one. They constantly kept reminding the viewers that he's a vegetarian. So he always wanted to eat meat, but never did. So he decided, okay, when he eats his vegetable, he's just going to strap a hot dog to his nose so he can smell the meat, but not actually eat it. Mateo, played by Rafael Alejandro. And so he lasted for 3 seasons and then showed up in the finale. He is part of like the new trio in season 3. And he is very much the Ravi character. He's a dork, he's a nerd, he's a geek, and he's a wimp. But he is the second Latino on the show. But when you first watch season 3, you don't really know he's Latino and everything. Because, you know, one of the problems that some people had in season 3 when they brought in the new trio is that the people assume they're all white because they got rid of the Latino and the Asian girl. And so, like, but it turns out he is. Because when you see his name in credits and everything, you just kind of like, Raphael, isn't that an Italian name? And Alejandro, isn't that like a Latino name? And so Mateo Silva is kind of like a Mateo. That's a not your typical American sounding name, so he has to be something. But we didn't find out what he was until season 5. Or was that season 4? It's one of those seasons. I think it's season 4 towards the end. If not, then it's season 5. So he was born in Canada, and he's actually Brazilian and something else. Oh, Panamanian. And so, like, from Panama and stuff. And so, it's funny because his sister in real life is Delilah Bella. And she was on Odd Squad as Agent Olive. And I was a huge Agent Olive fan. And those two actually look very similar. They also have a brother who I never knew of and everything. And oddly enough, all 3 have different last names. But Mateo was a cool character. He's kind of the Ravi Jorge replacement. He's smart and a genius, just like, you know, Ravi, but he's Latina and he has long, curly black hair, just like Jorge and everything, which he cuts off by season 4 and just remains short afterwards. And it became long curly at first to where short and wavy later on. And so, like, in season 3, he is very much like the dorkish, like, super genius and everything, but with a little bit of feistiness to him. You have to trick him in order for him to want to do something daring because he's like a fraidy cat and stuff like that. He's grossed out by that of like whatever Finn does and everything. And of course, Destiny likes to boss them around a little bit. But like I said before, I do like the new trio. They grew on me and stuff. In season 3, he's very much the genius. By season 4, they actually tried to change his character around. He's not so much dorky no more and not so much a wimp. Now he's more daring and wants to do things and stuff. And he actually takes charge, especially when it comes to Destiny and Finn, mostly Finn. Because in season 4, it's mostly just him and Finn hanging out. And so this causes them to clash. And this is kind of an interesting character development they gave him because he's no longer getting pushed around. He's now doing the pushing. And so, like I told you that one episode that, you know, he didn't want to do the cultural, like, dinner thing because he didn't know which side of his family to, like, choose. And it really upset him because of the simple fact that, like, you know, he didn't want to choose one ethnic race over the other and stuff. Now, one thing that's kind of recurring is his height. He feels like people don't appreciate him or kind of look down on him because he is very, very short. He's actually like shorter than the entire trio. And when the other two members of the trio started to grow per season, he was still relative very short. No, he doesn't have dwarfism or nothing like that. I don't believe. It's just members of his family just tend to be really short. I know Delilah's like I think shorter than he is, and he's the oldest. And so he was really embarrassed when he came back and like Finn had like grew and had some facial hair to where he pretended to have a fake mustache and everything. And also his voice remained the exact same for like all those 3 seasons. So, people can relate to that because it's kind of like, when's he gonna like, have his growth spurt and stuff like that and everything, because like so many like teenagers going from kids had to like face that and everything. That's something I always liked. And he's also a bird lover and everything, and really smart when it comes to dinosaurs. He does brave up, like I said, in later seasons and stuff. But then by season 5, they kind of had to have that blend. Okay, he's a little brave here, but then also a little bit of a wimp there and stuff. And it turns out that even though he's really horrible at sports, he's actually very skilled at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and everything because of his mom, which he really hates because he'd rather be like a scientist. But he can take down a grown adult because he took down Lou in season 5. And she's much taller and bigger than him. And so it's kind of like if he can do all this, then why in the world is he so wimpy in the other seasons? And why didn't he help Finn when Finn had that supposed bully and stuff? It was just something they kind of like tacked on to his character, I guess, to make him cool and everything. So it turns out that in season 4, I think it is, he likes to sneak off, and or maybe it's season 5, I can't remember. He likes to sneak off from camp, and he has this persona that where he goes to Mrs. Tilly's like lounge and everything, where he becomes Frankie Whispers, where he does kind of like cabaret type piano playing and everything. And for him, it's something that he can have of his own, and people can appreciate his music. These older people and stuff. It's a little weird and out of character for him. Out of the entire trio, he's probably the most developed into like character development and stuff. It's kind of like, why this? Like, you know what I'm saying? I could see Noah doing something like this, but not Mateo. And so he wanted to show the kids at camp this, but he was afraid that they would make fun of him. But, once like Finn and Noah liked it, he assumed that, oh, everybody's gonna love it. So he wanted to do it for everybody. But they didn't like it. So he went on back to Mrs. Tilly Lounge. Now, how he is able to sneak out and Lou doesn't get mad is beyond me. Because in season 5, he is apparently a professor at like a college. Yeah, season 5 was a weird season. And so he's like a professor and everything, teaching these adults. And Lou is in his class. And she never once ever questioned, hey, Mateo, why are you leaving campgrounds when you're not supposed to because you're underage? Which was a huge rule in season 1 and 2. The campers are not allowed to leave without an adult being with them. So Lou wasn't even like mad or nothing like that. And so him and Lou clashed because he was a bit of like a overbearing teacher, and he was overbearing because of his height. He felt like people wouldn't appreciate him, so he was just kind of like the mean, rude teacher who would stamp on a whole lot of like work if you like disobey something in his class. Now, he does reappear in the finale, and him and Gwen, like I said, are still dating. He's older now and is finally taller. He no longer wears glasses. they still try to keep that quirky personality of his when he's older, but it just doesn't work without the glasses and now the new height and everything and the older face. He's actually the same height as Gwen, so I'm not sure how tall she is. And his voice got a little bit deeper, which is so weird, like, to hear coming from him and stuff, because he's supposed to be little Mateo and everything. Now, the actor still acts every once in a while, and he was in a show. He also won some award, I believe, but I can't remember what that was or what show that was for or whatever. Destiny, played by Mallory James Mahoney. And so she was introduced in season 3 as a new trio, and she lasted all the way to the end of the series. She is a combination of both Emma and Zuri. Emma in the sense that she's about fashion, has blonde hair, is a valley girl, and Zuri because she's like cute, adorable, but with an attitude and stuff. She comes from like, a world of beauty pageants and stuff where she, as she explains to people, she was ruthless. She would do whatever it takes to win and everything. Bleach her teeth, smile as much as possible, dance, twirl the baton, like whatever it took. That was her life and she loved it. She loved glitter as well. Now, her ruthlessness was sometimes kind of shocking because in season, what was it, 3, I think it was, or maybe 4, we actually got to see just how ruthless she can be when it comes to beauty pageant and stuff. When they had, I think, this competition with this other camp, and she thought this other little girl was just like being fake towards her. So she was being as mean as possible to this girl and just all around nasty when the other girl was just as sweet can be. And it was just kind of like, whoa, who the heck is this character? Because for the most part, she's like a really nice little person. But like she said, when it comes to competition, she is like ruthless and everything. But other than that, she is this sweet, adorable little girl with long curly hair. Her long curly hair lasted until season 6 when she just decided to straighten it out because the actress was getting older. And so she hasn't had her curls ever since. But like, she's all about fashion and being girly, loves wearing the color pink, and she loves glitter, which is funny when the glitter backfires and it covers her entire body. Out of the entire trio, she was originally the tallest. And I really liked that dynamic of the 2 guys and the 1 girl, because she was the tough one of like the group and everything and what bossed them around at times, while also being girly and very dainty and everything. Her and Zuri couldn't get along at first because they couldn't decide on how to decorate their room, so she decided to get her frustration out by bouncing around in the bouncing house, which the other 2 boys joined in, and of course because it was on the lake and Emma put it there, they'd floated off. The new trio tends to be in life dangerous peril every once in a while per season, with them having to either escape on their own or like, what is it? Have somebody rescue them and stuff. Because when the thing started to float away, she's all like, all right, let's just swim back. But they was too far out and everything. But they was able to find like a log to jump on and stuff. But she does tend to boss the boys around from time to time. She can be very selfish and only wants to do what she wants to do, which the other boys kept telling her, like, we always do what you want to do. Like, let's do something we want to do. So in one dream episode, this is what's so weird about the new trio. In season 3, there were these 2 weird episodes. One was a dream episode and one was a legit time travel episode. And so, like, in the dream episode, the 2 boys, they assumed that they were real and everything. And it's kind of like, well, hold up, how is this real? We didn't know Destiny was dreaming at first until the end of the episode. And so they all got teleported, I guess, like in a book, where they played like these characters from like a book. And Destiny had to wear like a short brown bob and glasses and supposed to be the assistant, and she didn't like that, as she had to do what the two boys wanted her to do. As the two boys couldn't find a way to rescue themselves from a giant spider web, she had to like rescue them and everything. But it turns out she was just dreaming. But in the time travel episode, she didn't like the way these pilgrim type people dressed. And so she wanted to add like color and fashion to like their wardrobe, but then people assumed they're witches. When they teleported back to the present, they had an impact on like how the world was in season. This happened in season 3. How the world was and everything. We see the pilgrim people wear color. They had seasoning in their food and something else. I think Finn taught them how to have fun or something like that. It was a weird time travel episode. Trying to think. Her and Emma get along really well and everything because, of course, they're very similar to each other. Now, it turns out that, like, in season 4, I think it was, there was this episode where Lou, who's now the camp director, had to go to, like, this type of event for other camp directors, and they had to stay in a hotel. And Destiny wanted to go along with her. So Lou lets her, even though I don't know why, because she's a camper and underage, and Lou is a camp director and a grown woman. But she lets her go with her anyways, and Destiny gets trapped in the wall when she was on the Murphy bed, and it kind of catapulted her into the wall where she found the crawl space and was stuck in the wall. It's a cute little episode and everything, but we find out why Destiny wanted to go with Lou. It's because they don't get to spend time no more since Lou is a camp director, and Lou no longer sleeps in their bunk because she used to be a counselor and stuff. And, it was a really touching episode of, here you have this little girl and she knew this one person when this one person, I think, was just becoming like 17, 18 or something like that. I think she was probably 18 at the time Lou was. 'Cause yeah, Lou was the same age as Emma. And so, you get to have this like older friend, and now this older friend is much older and doing more adult stuff. And you're kind of left out as like a teenager now or a preteen now and stuff. So that was a cool little touching episode because, who didn't have like an older friend growing up, you know what I'm saying? And then when they left, you no longer got to see them. Like, it's kind of really sucks and everything. And so, like, other than that, she becomes like a really nice person. She's really nice to Gwen. Her and Ava get along pretty well and everything. And her selfish nature started to kind of dwindle as the like series started to go on. It was a little more selfish in season 4 every once in a while because like she tricked Finn into like, getting what she want when he was like king and everything. But she goes to like the ranch with Lou and the others, and she's now a CIT. Well, she's not even a CIT. She's just like a counselor, I think now, and everything. It was weird to see her be so tall with like long flowing hair because she was like this short, adorable little kid with long curly hair, and now she's getting older. But on the finale, she said she's a grown woman, but she's only like 17 or something like that. This is the same thing Xander said. I guess because they're so close to the Canadian border, they have a different adult age over there or something like that. But you gotta remember the rest of America, adult age is only 18 and everything. Her and Gwen become very good friends where she teach Gwen like a lot of stuff because Gwen is so aloof to how things are. But like I said before, in season 4, she doesn't hang out with Finn and Mateo that much no more because now she's with Ava and that of Gwen. But by season 5, she tends to hang out with them a lot and stuff because Gwen is no longer there. Noah. So, Noah appeared in season 4 and lasted all the way to season 7. He is played by Israel Johnson, and he's like Jesse. He's an actor. And just like with Jesse, the whole acting thing only gets brought up every once in a blue moon, every couple of episodes in like a season. He is a camp counselor at Kikiwaka, but he admits he has no idea what he's doing and goofed up big time in season 4. him and like he's really outgoing and likes to insert himself. Like he's like has this like really big personality. He's always really happy and he thinks he can do more than what he can actually do. But like I said before, he's always inserting himself into like other positions just so he can be part of like the group, which tends to get on Lou nerves every once in a while. It's weird. Lou acts like she doesn't like him or Ava that much, which is kind of bad on Disney's part because Lou is white in a country bumpkin and Ava and Noah are of course black. But they are the only two older like counselors there. And they're not even CITs or nothing like that. And if they are, they don't go through the process the normal CITs do, and they just keep calling them counselors. And so it's kind of like, why would Lou hire him? And like he said before, he has no idea what the heck he is doing. But like he gets along with Mateo and Finn very well. And he's a really nice character. I like how even though he's like a dork, he's not like a super genius, even though he wears glasses and stuff. Acting is his passion, and he always wants to improve on his stuff and gets gigs every once in a while. He even had to lie to get this one gig of talking about he has these huge muscles and he speaks French or something like that. So Mateo, who speaks many languages and everything, had to teach him how to speak French. But his muscles started to deflate because he made them out of water balloons. And when he had his audition over Zoom, they kept popping and everything. Oh, there was one episode I remember with his brother. Like his brother was supposed to be like in college and stuff like that when he went on a road trip with Lou and them. And so, but it turns out his brother left college to work in like a circus or fair type thing. And his brother had to explain like, why all this happened and stuff like that. But Noah let him know, like, man, I ain't disappointed you. You're my big brother. I look up to you and I idolize you and stuff like that. He rarely loses his temper, and when he does, he's still very happy and go lucky and everything. He completely blew it with Ava when she had feelings for him. But in season 5, when Finn hurt his arm, he met a girl in a wheelchair. And he lied about doing rhythmic gymnastics and everything. And so she had to teach him how to do rhythmic gymnastics, which he was not very good at. But he is a really good dancer and stuff. Now, the girl in the wheelchair, I don't know if she's really paraplegic or not, or it was just for like the show. Because this was a point in time when they started to bring in more diverse people that you would normally never see on a Disney Channel show. Like in season 3, they had like this one guy in a wheelchair, but in the background, and he doesn't do nothing. There's the girl in the wheelchair in season 5. And there's the guy with no neck in either season 4 or season 5 who worked at that convenience store. And there was also the deaf girl in one of the seasons and stuff, where Gwen thought this one girl was a fairy. And so, for the most part, like I said before, he'll get along with Finn and Mateo, but they do tend to get into like devilment. But then he kind of gets into it with them and stuff. Like when they went to Mrs. Tilly place because the girls they camped out in the woods. And he was like, "Well, we guys, man, we can rough it out in the woods," but they couldn't because they were scared. But then they found Mrs. Tilly lodge and everything, and just stayed over there and passed out by like eating all her delicious food and everything. I really love his upbeat personality. He is such a cool character. And like he's a good representation of like a black character. Because when it came to Zuri, they made her kind of like not ghetto in a sense because she does love country music and everything, but like she's the sassy, rude black girl with the attitude, Ava was like the lazy black girl character and everything, which was a stereotype. But him, he's like nothing like that. He's just very jolly and everything. Now, I didn't watch the Learning of the Ropes season, but he does go over to the ranch and become a counselor over there. I did watch the finale, And man, I was surprised that like his voice dropped so deep. I didn't even recognize his voice. Like it was just like who is this man talking? And with the facial hair and everything. Eventually he does leave the ranch along with everybody else to go pursue like, an acting career and stuff. When it comes to him and acting, it's a heck of a lot funnier than when it was Jesse, because with him it's more of a comedic like, moment and stuff. Like he loves the idea. Like it's weird. He's kind of like he's kind of a struggling actor, and he's kind of not. But you don't really see him book that many gigs or big gigs like Jesse did. Now, as for the actor, he still does act. He was in Bel Air on Peacock and on something else. I can't remember what. Parker. So Parker showed up in the fifth episode and lasted all the way into the seventh when they went to the ranch thing. And Parker is actually the second Indian person in the franchise. He's actually is Indian and Argentinian, and he was born in Canada. Preston is a rich person whose family has cut him off financially. So he is like the second rich person after the Rosses and everything. Personally, I've never liked the Parker character. He irritated me so much in season 5. He's overly comedic, he's selfish, he's spoiled, he has all these horrible ideas, and he is like, co-manager of Kiki Walker and everything. I guess his family did something or something like that. And he's a horrible like co-manager and counselor type person. And it's kind of like, and it's funny because he gets on Lou nerves, but then after a while they actually have feelings for each other. I'm all like, no. No, 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 no. I did not want that to happen. Thankfully, nothing ever came of that, similar to Noah and Ava. And he eventually, at some point in time, started dating someone in season 6. The woman actually turned out to be his real life wife in real life. And eventually, in the finale, which I'll get into a little bit later. And so, like, it was interesting having another rich person on the show, but a rich person who is poor, living in his RV and stuff like that. And it turns out that when he first came up there, he lied about like being rich and successful and this and that. But it turned out that his family literally just cut him off because he makes one horrible business decision after another. And he does so when he's here at camp. Like he tries to manage Noah and everything, and he's just horrible at his job. I don't know if he improved in season 6 because I've never really watched the whole like ranch learning the ropes type season. And so I have no idea what happens to him doing that. I know at some point he wanted like, he moved his RV into the woods and he was going to chop down a tree just because he gets really good like cell reception over there. But like Destiny did not want him to like, plow down this tree. But he was adamant about doing it. Until like it accidentally came down because of one of Mateo's like projects, and it turns out that it's not actually a tree, it's a cell tower and everything. But the fact is he was willing to cut it down just so he can have cell phone reception. Now I did read he did eventually sell like his RV to help buy like a new septic tank and everything. But it's not the actor, it's just the character I don't like. I don't like how over comedic he is. And this is when it started going to the wacky. Like season 5 is probably like my least favorite season that I've watched. Everything is just wacky in that season and nothing makes any sense anymore. And so I get why they retooled it in season six because season five I just don't like. And so like eventually I'm assuming he turned to be a better person. Now the finale was kind of all about him a little bit, split in half. Lou is eventually now his best friend, so whatever happened to Emma, but like he is engaged, he's getting married, and his fear is she's gonna leave him at the altar. Why is that? I have no idea. Because I've never watched season six and seven other than the first episode of season six and the last episode of season seven. But it turns out the woman that he married turns out to be his real life wife and everything, who is actually a dancer in real life and an actress too. She was on So You Think You Can Dance season four, the Canadian version. Now Parker, like I said before, is played by Trevor Trojan Man, and so he's best known for being in the zombie franchise on Disney Channel. So before I get into Lou, let me get into Learning of the Ropes, which is a show I never really watched. One day I will watch it, just not right now. So I don't really know who none of these characters are or what they're about other than what I'm reading online right now. There is a new trio. There's Winnie, there's Bill, and there's Jake. Jake is kind of like the dumb one of the group. Bill is like, you know, the serious one who's a cowboy. And Winnie is like likes to blow stuff up. When it came to Winnie, at first I was just kind of like, I didn't even know she was a girl in season six. I'm all like, oh, is she like, you know, non-binary? Like, what is she? Nah, she's not that. I guess she's like a tomboy, which is something people don't hear no more. Like, people don't hear the phrase tomboy no more. But she's dressed very much like a guy in season six. And I think I read that she has two dads and everything. But then by season seven, they had her dressed more girly and everything, and she grew her hair out. So it does make me wonder, is this just her character who's like this, or is the actress like this? I'm gonna assume it's probably the show wanted her to dress more boyish in season six because we were during that time of like diversity and stuff like that and inclusion. So they probably wanted a character that looked more non-binary-ish or something like that, you know, where you couldn't really tell or whatever. But there's a bunch of other recurring characters in the show who I have no idea who they are. There's this one guy who ended up dating Lou towards the last couple of episodes of like the series. There's this one girl, there's this one guy who's older. I don't know who he is and stuff. But yeah, I'm not really gonna go into like season six and seven because I literally have no idea what the heck went on in there. So let's get to Lou. Lou, played by the lovely Miranda May. So Lou is the only character to remain with the entirety of the series from season one all the way to season seven. I truly believe if the writer's strike didn't happen, it probably would have lasted a little bit longer than that. She was also an executive producer on the last two seasons, and she got to direct some episodes in season five. Not sure what the last two, but I know in season five. She is the only person to appear in every episode, even episodes in which she directed. And you know what? I'm so happy she stuck with this show because if she would have left, I probably would have stopped watching by like after season four and stuff like that. Only because season five is just my least favorite season. I just don't like season five that much. It's when the show got wacky and just unrealistic. And like I said before, I didn't watch the Learning of the Ropes seasons, so I don't know what really happened there. So thank God she stayed on. And you know, Disney Channel has been really good to her. Because she started off in Disney Channel doing other Disney shows. I think Liv and Mandy or something like that. And then she went on over to Bunk. She hasn't acted since Bunk. You know, it just ended just like last year. And so she hasn't had a gig since, and she probably doesn't have to get one because she's probably getting a lot of residuals from Bunk'd and Liv and Maddie. And not to mention, she's probably getting more because, like, she was a director on a few episodes and an executive producer on the last two seasons. And now, since Bunk is finally on Disney Plus, she should be getting paid really well, hopefully, and everything, if Disney has not screwed her over. And I hope Disney weren't being jerks when it came to her weight, because I know that's how they were with like Raven Simone and stuff. Um, but I gotta tell you, when she started gaining weight, I was so happy. I wasn't really feeling her in like seasons 1 and 3 because duh, she was underage and everything. But once she turned into like an adult, and boy, when she started being curvy and everything, she was thick alicious. And like I applaud her for having those curves and rocking those outfits and stuff. And because of course, look what happened in society now where everybody like is trying to be thin like a toothpick now and everything. Anyways, other than her physical like appearance, which I hope to God she never slims down. Like, please stay curvy. Just please stay curvy. Her hair started to change. In the first 2 seasons, or first 3 seasons, she would always wear her hair in like a ponytail or pigtails or something like that. And it was more of a light brown kind of color. But then, in the start of season 4, her hair just completely changed. It was now a much, much, much darker brown, like a chestnut brown, that resembled black. Like, at first I thought she had black hair. Until the light hit her hair, I'm like, oh, it's still brown. It's just a really dark brown chestnut color. Not only that, but she doesn't really wear her hair in a ponytail no more, except for like one episode. Now, for the remainder of the series, she keeps it down, but it's completely stylized. Like, I think her hair is what they call like a blown hairstyle or something like that. It looks really nice on her. That, and she changed the way she dresses. In the first 3 seasons, she will wear like capris and like, I don't know, like one of the Kiki Walker shirts or like a checkered shirt that would kind of like tie, very country bumpkin-esque and everything. Or it will be open and kind of like the way Finn dresses. But by season 4, she started to dress up. Like she started wearing like really nice jeans, these really cute like shirts with kind of like this like jacket over it. Every once in a while she'll wear like a checkered shirt, but it will always be like tied, or a Kiki Walker shirt. And then one episode, I don't know what these shoes are called, but they're kind of like boots with the heel and the toes are out. I'm all like, Lou is looking stylish and everything. And of course, because that was by season 4, she had to have gotten paid a lot more by that time, because she's been on the show for like over 3 years now. And she was using every amount of that paycheck to look nice, boy. And she started wearing like makeup and everything and lipstick, and like I'm just like, who is this woman? But other than her physical appearance change, her personality changed a lot as well, which is good because you have to have character development and growth. However, a lot of people don't like how her personality was in other seasons. It's debatable. In the first 2 seasons, she was the extreme comedic relief, like the doofus or goofball of kind of like the show. Like whatever they wrote for her to be like insane, crazy, Miranda did it. Whether it was hooting, hollering, singing, whatever. But she had this very, very like over the top, like country bumpkin, goofball personality and everything. Like she was the extreme comedic relief in those first 2 seasons. By season 3, her personality started to like slow down. She wasn't as loud and abrasive. She wasn't even as country bumpkin as she was before. And she was a little bit more sarcastic in a slightly rude kind of way by season 3. By season 4 and to the end of the series, however, her personality completely changed now that she's a camp director. She's more stern. She's more judgy and everything. She's a little rude at times with how she talks to people, just slightly, because now she has more authoritarian power and stuff. And she can't just be a goofball no more. She's also a little more laid back at times. And her whole country bumpkin persona is just nearly almost completely gone and everything. And it's just kind of like, who is this character now? And some people don't really like her personality from season 4 all the way to season 7 because of kind of how stern she tends to be. Like, I do get why she's stern with Ava, but she's overly stern with her to the point where it seems like sometimes she mistreats Ava. Because, like, there's an episode where Lou hurt her ankle and she made Ava wait on her hand and foot and literally bossed her around like a little servant girl and everything. I'm just like, who the heck is Lou doing all this, especially to a biracial girl and stuff? And it's just kind of like, this is not the old Lou everybody knew and loved. She's also a little judgmental of like Noah and everything. And she flat out hated Preston when or Parker when he first showed up and everything. But then it was later revealed she secretly likes him. Now, but Parker, like just like with the Ava thing, he's a screw up. Like he thought he lost Mateo because he thought Mateo was trapped in the alternate dimension and everything. How stupid can you be? So she always got on to him about that. So in season 1 and 2, Lou is very much a country bumpkin, hillbilly, redneck type person. Over the top, like stereotypical one. And she always has all these like country catchphrases and all this other stuff, and always talking about her home life back on the farm. And so she's very, very nice and upbeat. And she does not like Hazel because Hazel is like a horrible person, and Xander is one of her closest friends. Emma is her best friend, and she just looks down on Robbie because he's Robbie and everything. But for the most part, she loves to keep tradition alive at Camp Kikiwaka. It's like one of her favorite places to be. Like her little woodchuck cabin that she has because she's the counselor there. And she even has like a stuffed like chipmunk for like the little mascot in there and stuff. And you're not allowed to get rid of it. She even has this like little traditional like gesture she does, like it's a little chipmunk type thing that just makes her seem like just a nice, sweet, adorable person, you know? And so by that of season, what is it? She also what's something I can't remember. Something happened. Oh, her dog. So her dog died in like I think season 2. And it really devastated her. It's one of the first serious real moments her character ever had. To where she was even thinking about leaving camp. But her friends helped bring her around, and then she later found Chuck. Chuck was a wolf, but she had no idea he was a wolf. And so when she realized that, she decided to let him go in like, you know, the woods so he can be with the rest of the wolves and everything. Plus, owning a wolf is very, very dangerous. And so by season 3, this is when the countryside of her started to like slow down and everything. And she started to be slightly more stern, but a little bit more sarcastic and like a little bit more off-putting, just slightly and everything. And she was still one of the counselors over at the woodchuck cabin, which don't make no sense because now her and Emma are in the same cabin and they're both counselors. Why would you have 2 counselors in the same cabin? Don't make no sense. But she gets along with the new like woodchucks very well, and you know, the new campers and stuff. And she's very much a person of like the rules and everything, you know. I can't really think of anything really too huge with her in like season 3. Like character development wise, she's just still just like that nice person. But then of course, you know, when the Rosses sold the camp to her, she thought like, I can't afford it, so they just sold it to her for like $1, which she didn't have $1, which shows you like, um, just how like, she doesn't have money, stuff like that. Now, one interesting thing I just now remember about was her mom. We actually get to see her mom, and we get to see her grandfather and her cousins and stuff like that. So with her mom, they're very, very close. But Lou wants to go to college now that she's 18 and everything. And her mom actually wants her to stay home and run the family business, which is the farm and everything, which causes a huge conflict between her and her mom. But like they're able to reconcile, and Lou is able to go to college. Now, when it comes to Lou in college, we never really hear of anything about this after this season until season 5, when it turns out she's not going to graduate if she doesn't pass a science class, which of course Mateo ends up being her teacher, and she seems to be okay with him leaving the campgrounds, but not being like stern to her and everything. Then we get into the brand new Lou in season 4, where she's the head director, but she still wants to sleep in the woodchuck cabin and everything because like she loves it so much. But they had to tell her like, yo, it's time for you to leave. So after that episode, she's in her own place and stuff like that. As for being a camp director, as much as I love myself some Lou, she's actually a horrible camp director if you stop and you think about it. Yes, Gladys was horrible as well. Gladys had expired food, didn't care if the kids get hurt, but Gladys still followed the rules and everything. Lou doesn't seem to have no sense of the rule playbook, even though she's been going there ever since she was a kid and she knows more about Camp Kikiwaka than anybody else. So you should think she should like know the rules and apply them and stuff. Now the campers are allowed to have cell phones. This is a rule she does not implement and everything. Also, the campers are constantly leaving the campgrounds and going off into the city, which is a huge no-no, and that was a big deal in season 1 and 2. But Lou doesn't seem to have a problem with that for some bizarre reason. Not to mention, Lou is much older now. She's like 19 going on 20. And for some reason, she decides to go, or in season 5, she's like 20 or something like that, or 21. And she goes on a road trip with like Noah and Mateo. Noah is still a teenager, and Mateo is a little like preteen or like a boy, like a kid. So it's kind of like, why is this grown woman going on a road trip with these minors and everything? Yeah, nothing happened, but you have to question why. You know what I'm saying? Like Disney Channel's all about like, having this kid-friendly representation. Why in the world would you do this? Same way like how she allowed Destiny to go with her on that retreat in like season 4, and Destiny's a preteen. And the same thing with Xander and Emma having an underage relationship and everything. Why would Disney just let this fly? I have no idea. Also, she hired Ava and Noah, and Noah legit stated in the first episode when he was about to leave, he has no idea what he's doing and he shouldn't be here. Ava doesn't even really want to be there because she doesn't want to be a counselor and everything. She just wants to get away from her mom. So why the heck would she employ these two, and why aren't they CITs? Why are they full-fledged counselors and everything? That don't make no sense. Also, the recurring gag of the bad food comes back again, and it's kind of like, why? You think she would not allow bad food to be at their like camp and everything. And it's just kind of weird, It's just kind of like, I don't understand it, like how she's allowing all these rules to like break and everything. Other than that, she does like, and also a lot of crazy stuff happens. Like there would be like this time when she was trapped in like a starfish costume, and all this weird stuff was just going around campus, and she's just like, well, that just happened. Like she almost didn't care, but she does care about order every once in a while. Like she gets on to her counselors when they screw up and everything because it endangered the lives of like the campers and stuff. So it's weird. She's like very laid back now. But in season five, she created this Pee Wee division and everything, which you don't hear much about at all. It's just like in like two episodes they talk about it and crap, and that went completely nowhere. Then all of a sudden, in season four, they make her deputy mayor of Moose Rump. And it's like, Lou can barely run a camp to where it's still ranked one of the worst camps ever. How is she supposed to be a deputy mayor? But she was having problems with the original deputy mayor guy because he would park his boat near like the lake and blast the music. So when she complained to him about it to the city council, it turns out he's part of that and everything, and so is his family. So they decided to make her deputy mayor. But here's the weird thing when the show started getting stupid. The actual mayor is an animal. It's an animal where an actual human actually runs everything in the background, but the people of Moose Rump, they just love voting in animals. So when she found that out, she decided to have her own animal mascot run and be the new mayor, and like so she became deputy mayor. It is stupid. But at the end of season four, in the finale, she is no longer the it's either season four or season five. I can't remember which one. It might be the end of season five. Where she's no longer deputy mayor because she's been impeached because the actual mayor is impeached for eating something. This is when the show started getting stupid and wacky. Very, very stupid and wacky. And so, like, other than her stern personality, let's get into her love life. She's actually had a couple of, like, romantic interests over the years. There was kind of Xander, but not really, because they're more just friends. But then they kind of look at each other like, what could have been? And they almost kiss in one episode. Then there is this one guy who just started using her to like make furniture out of wood. And she was like head over heels about this dude until Emma's all like, yo, he's using you. And she gets pissed off at Emma about that. She has a big heart and a big romantic. The next love interest I can think of is Ava's brother. And I was happy about this because he's a black dude. And with those hips deserve to have a black dude. Those curves deserve to have a black dude. So they date in one episode, and we find out in another episode they're still dating. But then all of a sudden they must have broke off screen, and we don't know why. Then she started to really hate Preston because he was just a horrible camp director, co-director, and she didn't want to have him be a co-camp director. But it turns out that when she thought she was under a truth serum, that she actually had feelings for him. They kind of tried to explore that, but then decided it's not going to go nowhere. Then in the learning of the ropes, apparently she started dating this guy whose name I do not know. And I didn't know that until I watched the finale and everything. But when it came to the finale was very much rushed. Basically, season 3 and 4 newcomers decided to come back to the finale, but none of the Rosses were, and nobody from season 1 and 2. And so basically, Parker is getting married. So that's part of the episode. The other part is that like Ava and Noah and all them are leaving and stuff. Not Ava, but Destiny and Noah are leaving. So she's not gonna have nobody be with her at the ranch other than the new the new campers and everything like that. Because the other campers turned counselors are at Kikiwaka. And I think she actually helped create the ranch and everything. It was something happened when she was deputy mayor. She got something and created like the ranch. And so she's really upset. And so the other part of the episode is about her with everybody leaving her and her always feeling left behind. Because she said every like person she's ever cared about at Kikiwaka, whether it's the ranch or like the camp, they're always leaving her, and she's always the last one, always there. And this is kind of a little bit of a metaphor of like, the actual show, because she is the only remaining cast member from season one. And so, like, she realizes, what, it's time for everybody to soar, go off on their own journey. And, if you love something, let it go away or something like that or whatever. And so, she's going to be all right. She's dating that dude. She helped raise like these campers turned counselors. So she did a good job, you know what I'm saying? And then it ends with everybody dancing for some bizarre reason. They should have sung the Camp Kikiwaka song. I don't know why they did not. And so that is bunk'd. 7 seasons, 9 years, a lot of different cast members, over 20 something cast members. That's just insane. It is still to this day the longest running Disney Channel show. It's one of those things that started off great, but started to dip in quality as the show kept going on, which is the nature of things. You know, I don't know what the heck was going on behind the scenes, because you assumed the Rosses was going to be there to the long run until they wasn't. The show has literally almost been canceled in the 3rd season and came back. It went on hiatus during like the what is it, 4th or 5th season. That I think it was probably the 4th, the really long season, and then of course they retooled it for the last 2. It's an interesting show. It's not for everybody, but it is an enjoyable, laughable show and everything. It does suck when they started getting a little too quirky and crazy towards the end, but that is the nature of Disney Channel. I always felt like Bunk should have been like this. With every other Disney show that ends, all the younger cast members should go to bunk and be either a counselor or that of a camper. This would be the biggest crossover like show in the world if they were to do that, but they never did. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.